Hello, everyone, and welcome back. It's been a few days since I made a video. I apologize. Been summer things going on and whatnot, but I did want to take a few minutes today to make a video covering some of the Star Citizen news from the last few days. Primarily today, we're going to be going over the Star Citizen Live from Thursday. I'm going to do a little bit of a summary of that. There's some pretty interesting questions and a few interesting little hints towards ships as well that we will talk about. And then we'll probably go over the sneak peek from yesterday and maybe a few other random little things here and there. But we're just going to kind of talk about the latest general happenings of the game, talk about maybe the patch a little bit, and discuss possibly some things that'll be coming up in the very near future. So, without any further ado, let's go ahead and get straight into it. Okay, so first we are going to go over the Star Citizen Live from Thursday. This was with some members of I think the audio team, the kind of just overarching audio team, not specifically vehicles or anything like that. I forget their names off the top of my head. Well, I remember one is Simon. He's actually a pretty new addition to the audio team and to CIG, and he seems really cool. And I'm excited to see what work he does because I love when there's good sound and music in video games and movies and all that. So I really appreciate some recent changes they've made to some different sounds, like some engine sounds and whatnot, and other environmental effects like with the rain and all that. And I'm excited to see what plans they have for new sounds and stuff in the future. But we do have some questions to go through. I'm not gonna like fully read out the transcript of everything that they said, but I will just kind of summarize each general question. Probably most of them. Maybe we won't hit every single one, but we'll talk about that and some of the other random little hints and stuff that got dropped in as well as part of the Star Citizen Live. Okay, so the first question was, what happened to the glorious flyby sounds from years ago, and should we expect the magnificent sound quality to ever come back to our ships? And basically what they said is they technically are still present, but there have been some changes back-end wise that they don't show up as much, or you don't hear them as much for some reason. Sounds like it's mostly just a back end thing, but they are apparently working on it to bring them back with some more enthusiasm, a little bit more. I don't know, power to them maybe. They want them. They specifically said they want them to kind of vibrate you a little bit more, or have that kind of sensation, probably on the ground and also while you're in your ship. So that'll be really cool. I have seen some videos from a few years ago where there was really cool flyby sounds, and I would love to see something like that and even better. So really looking forward to seeing whatever changes they come up with for that. I'm sure it'll be pretty nice once we get that in the game. Next question is, what is the state of the realistic audio mode? And this is the mode where I think it's supposed to sort of imitate technically not really being able to hear sound in space, but it's like if you're in your ship, the guns are attached to your ship and you're in a pressurized cockpit or whatever, and you can kind of still hear some of the vibrations and stuff, some of the sounds from the engines and the weapons and all that sort of stuff. They basically said that they have been working on implementing the realistic audio mode, but it is quite a big undertaking because they have so many sounds to work through. I think they said in total for the game, and not all of these will probably need to be touched by the realistic audio mode. Maybe they will, but I think they said they had 700,000 sounds or so. So quite a few to work through. But it sounds like they're working on it, and they're trying to get it into their schedule. So again, they said they're focusing on the ship flybys right now, and then they want to add further audio enhancements down the line. Next we have, can we have a more realistic professional distress call from pilots being attacked by pirates? And they said yes, the team, they overall have a kind of a high-level mandate to try to get more dialogue into the game, which we have seen with 4.2.1 when you accept missions for Hurston, ArcCorp, Crusader, Microtech, whoever it is. There is a specific kind of mission giver that talks to you a little bit for like the Foxwell missions, There's someone that talks to you for that, for headhunters missions. The headhunters like patrol and ambush, you get someone that talks to you for that. So they definitely have been doing a pretty good job of getting more of that into the game, and I'm sure we will see more of that throughout the year. They've been working with the narrative department quite a bit for organizing recording sessions for that dialogue, and then they can get that into the game for whatever the release is that it's going to be part of. They apparently are also considering ship horns. So you come in with your Polaris, your Idris, your big whale or something, and you have like a big whale, or, like a big ship horn sort of thing you can sound off. That'd be pretty cool. And maybe some smaller things for other ships. So they said it's perfectly possible. It's just a matter, I think, of finding time in the schedule, or putting it in the correct chain of priorities. So we'll have to see if we get that at some point. But it sounds like they definitely want to do it. The next question was, will we ever have radio stations that we can tune into instead of just the in-game background music? And they said, yes, they do. They would like to implement radio stations, potentially have it maybe be there's one that's specifically around Microtech and, more unique to Microtech. So specific, I don't know, narrative things, or maybe even advertisements focusing on that planet. But then when you maybe you quantum towards Hurston, you lose that signal. And then maybe you get a Hurston one or something like that. So sounds like they do want to do that. It's just, again, a question of how, can we allocate people to this? So probably won't happen. I would think it won't happen anytime soon, but it could be something that we get maybe as part of 1.0. Maybe it'll be a post 1.0 thing. We'll have to see, but they definitely do want to do that. Next we have, will we see more audio for ships in their damaged state, such as alarms blaring, especially on larger multi-crew ships? And they said yes, they plan to elevate all ship sounds, particularly for console UI, as well as your ship's damaged states. They want to give, what they really want to do is give ships a little bit more personality. And with the new Star Audio system they have, that makes it easier to shape the ship sounds so that they react properly to damage coming in. This could be, they said it could be like lights kind of flickering going out, or general ship sounds dropping when the power systems get, are fluctuating or something like that. They also would like to add the ability for a pilot to kind of make announcements throughout the ship. Maybe that would be something over VoIP or something like that, which the next question will actually touch on. But they would like to get that sort of thing in as well. And then lastly on that question, they also want to introduce an element of vibration to ships so you can feel the damage a bit more. So I don't know exactly how they're going to replicate that or emulate that for us to feel or see, but that is something that they are working on. So I'm looking forward to maybe we'll get some of those changes sometime this year. I'd love for just a refresh on some of the ship sounds, just adding some new stuff. I think it would help even more with the immersion, but also it could provide actual information for you if you're not able to see the proper MFD or something. You hear something, that'll at least give you an indication that something is probably not right. All right, next we have, what are you doing, if anything, to improve VoIP? It's super inconsistent. And they said VoIP has had some back-end issues that has mostly been the result of the increased player caps. Apparently the old VoIP system was built really when it was, I think, only 50 people servers quite several years ago. And they have not really updated it much since then. So a rework for the VoIP system is needed to kind of better handle the elevated player counts. And they also have to change some things to make it more compatible with server meshing. So that is something that will be handled by, I think they said they're the Turbulent team at the Montreal studio. So they will hopefully provide an update on that in a future show. And I believe around this time, Jared also mentioned that in a couple of weeks, they will be having sort of an update show with Benoit from the show they did, I think in January it was, or maybe February, of that like 3-hour SCL where they just went through everything that they could think of like, this is the problem, this is how we can fix it. If we're working on it and whatnot. So it sounds like we'll be getting a kind of like a 6-month or so update from Benoit in a couple of weeks here on probably a lot of those things, hopefully like the transport system, maybe some dynamic server meshing news and different things like that. All right, so our next question is, are there plans to add a variety to the rain sound effects, or maybe there are some engine limitations currently? They said that currently the rain system was scoped for the specific events that it was put in for, so Pyro 1 for the Stormageddon or whatever, the Stormbreaker, that event. And they said the overall rain system is complex, requires a lot of different, them making sounds for different types, different materials, the intensity of it, and all those sorts of things. They are continuing to work on it, but it'll, of course, be quite a bit of time and iteration and whatnot until they have it exactly how they want. But they do have the plans to get that full soundscape in, as well as part of the full dynamic weather system. The next question was, what is the difference between star audio and the realistic audio mode? This is a little bit more of just a technical question, so I'll just kind of go over this really quick. They basically just said that the star audio is a sort of acts as a glue between game systems, and it allows sound designers more freedom to adjust how things act, how sounds trigger based on things happening in the game world and whatnot that you see. The realistic audio mode is a subset of the Star Audio's capabilities, and that just basically listens for audio pressure, and then that changes how the sound emission happens. So if you're in a pressurized environment, you'll hear, again, like I mentioned earlier, kind of the sounds of your ship weapons firing and whatnot, but you probably won't hear things coming from other ships. You'll hear if they impact you, like a ship weapon impacts your ship, you'll probably hear that, but you probably won't really hear the other ship weapons firing. All right, and then we got kind of three pretty quick questions here. One is, will there be options for stereo, 5.1, etc. in the game? Like they can just be set to the different one. They said currently it's automatic based on the PC settings, but a development is underway to allow players to choose their preferred audio output from the drop-down menu, and that fix is expected in an upcoming release. Then they said, are there plans to replace the footstep sounds? It sounds the same almost everywhere and does not match the ground or floor often. They said yes, they plan to replace and update footstep sounds to ensure they have the correct weight, resonance, surface, and soul. The issue is compounded where the materials under your feet weren't being picked up properly by the game itself, so it was playing kind of the wrong audio, but that apparently has also been fixed, and that should be coming also in an upcoming release. And then finally, there was a question of, are there going to be self-destruct audio alarms? And they said these used to exist, but they don't play anymore for some reason. They do want them to be brought back, but it could be potentially more viable maybe on larger ships that have the larger self-destruct timers, but on small ships like fighters and stuff that have like a 15-second self-destruct, then probably wouldn't really be that necessary. But again, like a Polaris, Idris, other large ships like that, it could potentially be more worthwhile to have those. All right, we're down to the last few questions here. Next, we have, currently the sound of a Polaris or an Idris hovering over the ground is almost silent. Will we see improvements to this aspect of audio, as sometimes we walk outside a location and there's just a big hovering Polaris and I didn't even hear it because it was almost silent? And they said yes, that there are improvements planned. The team needs some smarter ways to tie the context of covering ships to provide the full kind of whiteout sound experience of but they don't want it to be, they have to balance it so it's not overwhelming if there's like a bunch of ships floating around you. So that is something that they are apparently working on, and we'll probably see maybe sometime this year, maybe next year, who knows. Next, they said, will music work for groups eventually, like traveling the Pyro Gate, so that it's not only the pilot that hears the music? They said, yes, the ideal music experience should be for the whole ship and its occupants, but the jump point music was rushed and tied to the pilot. They have some future improvements that they're working on to hook passengers into the music experience as well. I have also noticed it doesn't usually show, well, this is like more quantum travel. At least for me, it doesn't, if I'm not piloting, it doesn't usually play the music or even show like kind of the quantum effects around the ship. So that might be something that's tied similarly to this issue. And, hopefully that's something that's pretty easy to fix. And I don't know, maybe they just haven't got to it. Maybe we'll see it fixed some point soon here. All right, we're down to our last two. Question: are there any interesting stories behind the creation of some of the sound effects used in the verse? And Phil, who I believe he's the audio director, if I remember correctly, over both Star Citizen and Squadron. He said that he used the heartbeats from his two children's pregnancy scans and hospital monitors in the game. They are apparently in, like, there's a heartbeat in some hospitals somewhere in the game. It's probably Stanton or something. And apparently those heartbeat effects are his children. So pretty cool little Easter egg there. And then the last question is, can the community do for you to make your job easier? And they said they encourage communications from the community. They want to hear what we're hearing, what we're not hearing, and what we want to hear. They said that you can report any audio issues as well, as of course the QA team can't catch everything. Simon actually said you could send mailed letters to his desk, and Jared gave at some point the address for the main Manchester studio. I don't remember what it is, but probably mostly a joke. Although I guess you technically could send it. But that was the Star Citizen Live. Sorry if that ran a little bit long, but there was some pretty interesting questions there. Again, really enjoy a lot of the audio stuff that's been happening recently for the game, and looking forward to seeing more of the improvements that we get. Make sure to let me know in the comments any other thoughts you had on the SCL, if you had already watched it, or anything that you would like to hear in the game, or things that you would like to see changed in terms of audio. Make sure to drop your thoughts on that down in the comments. So now we'll finish up by going over the other couple of little things from this week. I don't have any, there's no patch notes specifically for them, but you've probably seen there have been several hotfixes that have gone out this week. I think we're at maybe 3 or number 4 or something like that, that have been trying to help fix some of the issues. I have heard it has been at least decently better, with cargo elevators working more reliably, the missions showing up more often, so that's good to hear. I think there was even one push just last night or something like that. So I think that was to help with some more issues with missions not showing up properly, but it was non-event related missions, I think. So hopefully that'll help with that. They did also mention yesterday that their plan is to hopefully have 4.3 in Evocati early next week. So we'll probably start getting the first news and stuff of the new locations that we know of in 4.3, and I don't know, maybe some other changes as well coming with that release. So that'll be cool to see. And then the last thing we have to go over is the sneak peek from this week. So let's take a look at that real quick. And before we take a look at the sneak peek, I did remember that there were a couple of subtle ship hints dropped by Jared during the Star Citizen Live. One was that he mentioned that they have been doing something for the upcoming Kruger something or other. So probably the Kruger Light Fighter that was teased a couple months ago. Wouldn't be surprised if that is one of the new ships coming in maybe August or September. And then he also teased that the RSI Apollo will be coming before the end of the year. So some little things there, but just a few little details I thought I'd let you know about. Alrighty, so this sneak peek is for the new sniper light armor called Geist. I believe it's pronounced Geist, something like that. If I remember correctly, it's the German word for ghost. I think it's Geist, actually, like poltergeist, I think. The quote for this is "Awesome Blossom." As we can see in the image here, it is the armor, but it appears to be some sort of skin on it that is like some gold flower-looking things. I guess there's also some silver ones kind of further down on the body you might see. I do wonder how stealthy this particular version would be with the gold highlights. I mean, the gold isn't the worst thing. Mostly kind of the bright red lights around where your eyes are. It's probably not the stealthiest thing you could have. I guess if they give us an option to turn it off, that would probably help. But I don't think there's any way to do that right now on helmets. So it looks cool though. I'm excited to check it out, take a look at it. I don't think it'll have any like specific properties that make it more stealthy when it comes out, because again, a lot of that we're kind of waiting on FPS scanning and radar to be able to. I think they're waiting for that to introduce a lot of those kind of archetypes for different armor types and whatnot. So, but it'll be in the game, and then once we get that new feature in, it'll be ready to go, hopefully, for that. But it looks pretty nice. I'd love to hear if you have any thoughts on this down in the comments. Do you think this is going to be, maybe this will be a patch bundle, maybe it'll be One thought I had was because it has the kind of the gold print on it. Maybe it's another concierge reward armor, something like that, possibly. We'll have to see. Maybe it'll just be something that's put in the loot table. Maybe it's a Wicklow version. You never know. But if you have any thoughts on it, let me know in the comments. What do you think about it? But that's going to do it for this video, going over some of the latest Star Citizen news. Looking forward to seeing what new stuff we get to take a look at next week with 4.3 going into EVO. If there's leaks and data mines and stuff, I'll definitely be letting you all know. Maybe we'll even go to Wave 1 by the end of next week, and we can take a little bit more of an in-depth look at it. So we'll just have to see what other juicy new stuff we get. Still waiting to hear on engineering. So maybe we'll finally get some news on that. You never know. But if you enjoyed the video, feel free to leave a like, as it really helps the channel. And if you'd like to see more Star Citizen news as I get more back into the swing of things, feel free to subscribe. And I'll make sure to keep you up to date on all the latest happenings. But that's going to do it for this one. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And until next time, I'll see you in the verse.